wraps up. Those are the headlines, and now for the news in detail. Iran today told nuclear inspectors it plans to enrich uranium up to 20% at its underground Fordow nuclear facility, a technical step away from weapons-grade levels. The move puts yet more pressure on the nuclear deal between the country and Western leaders. Plans were confirmed by the country's state-run news agency, which gave news of a letter sent by Iran to the International Atomic Energy Agency leaked overnight. The decision comes after Parliament passed a bill, later approved by a constitutional watchdog, aimed at hiking enrichment to pressure Europe into providing sanction relief, while also serving as pressure ahead of the inauguration of President-elect Joe Biden, who has said he's willing to re-enter the nuclear deal. The Palestinian Health Ministry said today that a man was suffering from paralysis a day after he was shot in the neck by Israeli forces in the occupied West Bank. It said 24-year-old Haran Abu Aram was left quadriplegic. Witnesses said the incident was triggered when Israeli forces tried to stop Palestinians building a house in a village in southern Hebron and seized an electrical generator belonging to Abu Aram. Israel prevents Palestinians from building houses on areas under its control in the West Bank without hard-to-obtain building permits. The Israeli military said a violent riot was instigated when the troops were evacuating an illegal building. In 2020, Israel had demolished the homes of more than 900 Palestinians in the West Bank and East Jerusalem. The Palestinians claimed the West Bank and the Gaza Strip, with a capital in eastern Jerusalem, for a future state. They said the growing settler population, approaching 500,000 in the West Bank, has made it increasingly difficult to achieve their dream of independence. The Senate has wrapped up a rare New Year's Day session with Republicans rejecting President Donald Trump's demand for $2,000 COVID-19 aid checks. They also overrode his veto of a sweeping defense bill. Together, it was an unusual 1-2 rebuke at the end of a chaotic Congress. Democrats vowed to try again to approve more COVID-19 aid when the new Congress convenes tomorrow. Trump lashed out at GOP leaders, but Senator Major Leader Mitch McConnell said Congress had provided enough pandemic aid for now. Smaller $600 checks are being mailed to households. China is ready to work with the United States to develop a bilateral relationship featuring coordination, cooperation and stability, despite the recent disputes between the two countries. Chinese State Councillor and Foreign Minister Wang Yi said during a recent interview with the Chinese Global Television Network that China-US ties have run into unprecedented difficulties and urged US policymakers to change their misperceptions about China. Wang added that some see China as what they called the biggest threat and adopted an entirely wrong China policy on the basis of this misperception. Facts have proved that the US attempted to suppress China in every possible way and start a new Cold War has not only seriously harmed the interests of the two peoples, but also gravely endangered the world. Such a policy is doomed to turn people off and fail. Niger's ruling party candidate, Mohamed Bazoum, will face former President Mahaman Usmane in a presidential election runoff in February, according to the provisional results of the first round of the contest announced by the Electoral Commission today. Bazoum led the first round with 39.33% of the vote, falling short of the 50% needed to win outright in the first round. Usman received 17% of the vote. The second round is expected to be held on February the 21st after the results of the first round have been validated by the Constitutional Court, which will hear any appeals. Niger's president, Mahamadou Issoufou, is stepping down after 2 5-year terms, which is expected to lead to Niger's first transfer of power between 2 democratically elected presidents. The novel coronavirus has killed more than 1.83 million people since last December. Almost 84 million cases of coronavirus have been registered. Of these, around 53.8 million are now considered recovered. Yesterday, 9,661 new deaths and 555,864 new cases were recorded worldwide. The United States is the worst affected country, with 347,865 deaths from 20.13 million cases. After the US, the hardest hit countries are Brazil, with 195,411 deaths, India 149,218, Mexico 126,507, and Italy with 74,621 deaths. Europe recorded 577,421 deaths, Asia 220,019, the Middle East 90,239, and Africa 66,138 deaths. His Excellency Dr. Mohammed bin Saeed Al Mamari, the Undersecretary of the Ministry of Endowments and Religious Affairs, said that they are continuously consultations between the Ministry and the Supreme Committee entrusted to discuss the mechanisms to deal with the coronavirus pandemic on the time of opening all mosques, pointing out that this issue is connected to the average rate of increase or decline of the spread of the pandemic. In his remarks to Oman News Agency, he stressed that the Ministry has launched an electronic system for mosques that offers all services starting from the construction phase till the management works of mosques. He said that this system will simplify procedures and speed up the accomplishments with the existence of performance indicators to measure all work offered through the system, which will include 23 services related to mosques. The total number of commercial agencies and professional licenses during the third quarter of 2020 reached around 661, with an increase by 113% compared to the same period in 2019. The Ministry of Commerce, Industry and Investment Promotion added that the number of professional licenses reached 81. The number of trade balances that were inspected in the commercial shops reached more than 2,350 since the start of the inspection campaign by the Ministry. It's done by the Ministry of Commerce, Industry and Investment Promotion in 2015. The campaign aims to ensure that the trade balances in jewellery shops and other commercial markets match their respective technical regulations. Organised by Oman Camel Racing Federation, the last station of the races for the season concluded, aimed exciting competition over 2 days. Some 800 camels took part in the race, which included 8 rounds for different categories of camels. The event was held at Saria racetrack in the Wilaya of Adam in the Governorate of Dakhliya. The conclusion day witnessed competition to win prizes of the race that included cash prizes and cars with support from private sector. This is the Sultan of Oman Television. Before in tonight's bulletin, here are the main points once again. Iran tells inspectors it plans to up 20% enrichment at Fordo nuclear facility. And the GOP rebuffs the US president on $2,000 aid and the defense bill as Congress wraps up. With that, we come to the end of tonight's news bulletin. From all of us here at the newsroom and the studio, it's good night.
ورجعنا لكم من جديد مشاهدينا الكرام مع برنامجكم برنامج المسابقات الباب، مع جوائزنا وأسئلتنا والمعلومات العامة. لا تنسون موعدنا إن شاء الله بيكون بشكل أسبوعي كل يوم جمعة من الساعة 9 إلى الساعة 10، بالإضافة إلى السحوبات الأسبوعية. كل أسبوع عندنا 1000 ريال عماني نقدا. أما السحب الكبير بيكون في نهاية الموسم لهذا البرنامج، قيمة الجائزة 10,000 ريال عماني نقدا، لكل رقم 5000. لا تنسون موعدنا الجمعة من كل أسبوع من الساعة 9 إلى الساعة 10. الباب بابك، يا هلا وحيا بك.
للمشاركة في برنامج الباب وسحوباته الأسبوعية ارسل كلمة الباب لمشترك عمان تل عبر الرقم 91213، ولمشترك أريد على الرقم 91819.
عصمت هو روحي، وأنا ما رح أنسى وقفته وعذابه مشاني.
أنا طلبت من أمك وأبوكي إنك تروحي تسكني عندي بالبيت، وتعهدت إنك ما تلتقي بعصمت ببيتي.
نحن أكبر من فريال ومن أخوها صاحب المشغل.
إذا هالمرة ما تربى، المرة الثانية بده يتربى ورجله فوق راسه.
شو المشاكل عم بتصير على كيفنا؟
ومين في أحسن من عصمت بالحارة ليجي ويخطبها؟
منين بتعرفينا؟
تطلعي على شوري، طلع برات البيت، ما بقعد بخليك تطلع.
الحاكمية لمت كل شباب الحارة وأخذوا ابني عصمت معه.
تعالي يا بنت عمي، تعالي. أنا اليوم سعيد جدا لأنك شرفتيني شرفة المتواضعة.
هذا الكلام تشكر عليه بنت عمك، أنا ما أستاهله.
أنت تستاهلي ونص. تعالي معي الشركة علشان أعرفك بالأقسام اللي فيها.
يلا
تعالي.
صباح الخير.
هذه عقيلة بنت عمي.
اهلا وسهلا.
هذا المنسق. ها؟ احسن، استريح.
تفضل استاذ، تفضل.
تفضلي يا بنت العم العزيزة، تفضلي استريحي. انا والله ابغاش تجلسي في هذا الكرسي.
بس هذا كرسيك ما يصير أنا أجلس عليه.
هذا يا عقيلة كرسي الإدارة، وانت اذا اشتغلتي معنا في هذه الشركة فانا ما اقبل ابدا انك تجلسي في كرسي اقل من هذا الكرسي.
أنت الحين استريح واجلس على كرسي.
تعالي تفضلي استريحي. والله اني نورت الشركة. تفضلي استريحي يا بنت عمي العزيزة.
قل لي بصراحة يا ولد العم، أنت الحين في إيش تفكر؟
ابدا، انا ابغاش تعتبري هذه الشركة شركتك.
وليش ما أكون